Hi everyone, and welcome to what I hope will be the first in a series of crochet slash knitting slash life of Ali blog or vlog or whatever you want to call it. I've been inspired by a few other people starting these kinds of things over on YouTube and the gram, and I thought, do you know what? I've got a load to talk about, so why not start one of my own? So here I am in my newly painted, not quite finished yet, craft room slash office is at least what I tell everyone at work. So this is my home office. I mainly sit downstairs on the sofa when I do work, but here we are, at least I have the room. I am wearing my newly blocked Love Magic dress with these amazing sleeves. Like, they are literally amazing. I even sewed the ends in just to show you guys. So this beauty of a 1970s style, like go-go dress is what I'm going to refer to it as, is the Love Magic dress that was designed by the lovely Holly. On Instagram she is Disco Stitch. I will link everyone I talk about somewhere below this video. So it's made in DK yarn, thank God, because this thing, if I stand up, I mean, excuse my chair, it is a beast. It keeps going and keeps going and keeps going until it gets to about here and I have a hem. Woo. So DK yarn by Dystopic Fibre, the lovely John up in Scotland, who's actually Northern Irish if you didn't know. So he dyed up a special batch for me of this colourway, which is called Hallucineon, and I absolutely love the colour. Like, don't let anyone tell you that pink is my favourite colour, because I might be falling in love with the purples. So this is my newest finished object. It wasn't the first finished object that I made in 2023. That is the year we're in now, right? But it is like my new favourite. It's the second thing I finished. So the one thing I have got to point out with this is, my God, blocking yarn, soaking it, especially in this quantity, was a nightmare. I mean, the thing bled like crazy. Literally felt like I'd got those frilly, foofy bath mommy things from Lush and just dumped them all in, because it, like, the water just went bright purple, which, you know, is understandable when it's hand-dyed yarn. They do actually tell you to, like, wash it before you use it, but like hell was I going to do that? It was 9 skeins. So I actually used 8 of them, so I do have spare to make something else, and I just can't get over showing you guys these sleeves. I am also working on another project that I've just cast on, using Dystopic Fibre again. I love John's yarn and I think the colours are incredible. And you know what, there aren't many male dyers in this industry, so, you know, I like supporting him. I think what he does is amazing and might as well keep motivating him. So I bought his, I actually was gifted, not by him but by someone else, a advent yarn. I had this little kind of break between projects and I was like, hey, let me design something. I haven't crochet designed anything in, like, well, since October when I released the Franken beanie. And I've had a few things that I've kind of been sitting and thinking about for maybe the last, God, maybe 2 years. Like, that's how behind I am. I have all these ideas, I write them down, and I'm like, yes, here is a moment. I am going to start working on this. And then I kind of got my pen and paper out and was looking at grading and figuring out what size I am, and I wasn't in the right frame of mind to do it yet. I decided basically it was too much work and that I didn't want to start this in January, because I've had a lot on my plate, especially with, like, the normal 9-to-5 job, that I just decided I'm going to pick up something really, really easy and I'm going to have fun with it. So if I can pull it out, there is a lot of yarn attached to this right now. So I'm working on a Le Pouf by Hedgehog Fibre cardigans. This is my Dystopic Advent yarn so far. As you can see, very colourful. It's going from, like, these light colours into the darks. It was all based upon a dream sequence. So the first bit is, like, I believe waking up or going to sleep, something like that, and then it goes into nightmare, so it's getting darker. I probably should have researched that before I told you, but if you check out John's Instagram, all the colours are on there, and he does a good description of what everything's supposed to be. So I started this last Saturday. It is a really basic pattern. It's just a lot of stockinette, which is really curling up at the top. But I guess stockinette can be really boring for most people. I mean, especially after working on this dress for so long. This was just stockinette in the round and round and round and round for ages. But the thing that keeps this interesting is actually the colours. I'm marling it, so I've got like these proper drug dealer type scales that like weigh everything down to the gram. I probably shouldn't be saying that they're like drug dealer scales. I didn't get them from a drug dealer, but they are super scientific, and I can actually measure the gram of one skein of yarn that I need for these little bits here, because I'm trying to keep it in line that when I put it on, the sleeves are kind of at the same level as the rest of the body. So I worked out all these percentages, like X amount of stitches equaled this amount of percentage, and so I've been weighing that out and also split the main skeins in two so that I could marl them together. So you'll see I've got somewhere in here one strand, that one, on the go, and now when I wind my next skein of yarn I'll be able to join it in, and it will be more of a gradual fade. So although this was dyed as a fade, I'm just giving it added fadeness. But I'm loving how that's coming out right now. Because of the whole bleedage of the purple, I am going to, I think, steam block or spray block this one. So once it's already pinned into position, then I'll like load it up with water. I don't want to drown it like I did this dress, because there's some really light colours on here. And I think that once this starts getting into the black, we might have some issues with bleedage. So just to avoid all of that, I'm going to just eliminate the opportunity for that to happen. And then John also dyed skeins of a contrasting colour. Here is one with some yarn attached to it. This is one of them. So this is going to run actually around the edges when there's some ribbing that goes all the way around. It's a really, really easy pattern. If you've never knitted an outfit before, actually this cardigan pattern is probably like one of the ones I would recommend to start with. But I'm also really excited to get this bad boy involved in this. So I am like speeding through it now. I actually sound like I've been speeding through my whole life right now because I feel very out of breath. I'm a very fast talker anyway, but recently I found that I've got a bit of a cold and I'm like a lot of the time, so I do apologise for that one. But anyway, what I did speed through this year was this lovely beret that's now tangled in the previous yarn. This is, and I'm probably going to mispronounce it, but it's the Oriole beret, which was from Pom Pom magazine. I think it was the autumn or the winter issue. And I saw it and I fell in love. It's crochet brioche stitch, so you can see there it actually has a bit of a pattern to it. It's made entirely in the back loop, and I did make some modifications to this. So the pattern originally calls for doing a slip stitch in the back loop only around this brim here, and every time I tried it, aside from the fact that it hurt my hands, it's no secret that I've got a disability, and that kind of pressure was actually really putting a lot of strain on my wrists. So I decided to sub it out for a single crochet in US terms in the back loop only instead. I actually got the gauge. The problem was that when I then finished the pattern, although it sat like a beret and looked like a beret, it didn't stay on my head like a beret. So I found I actually went shopping and lost my beret. I mean, I found it like immediately afterwards, but I felt it slipping and I was like, ooh, okay. So what I've done is actually loaded it up with elastic. And believe it or not, I actually did this in the shopping mall. I went straight to Dunelm and bought elastic and some needles and went, right, let's just do this because I want to wear it. It's cold today. So it now stays on my head like a beret, and it's actually really secure now. So I've got the little je ne sais quoi French look and no risk of slippage or falling offage, which is perfect. So I'm going to post the little mod of this onto my blog as well, along with a fairly, not brutal, but I've been a bit honest with a pattern that I did intend to make, and I haven't got the yarn here to show you, but in about September, I was gifted the most beautiful cashmere silky merino combo of magpie fibre yarn. It's in a gorgeous, gorgeous purple colour, and I promise I will show you if this vlog gets enough interest and enough views and I make another episode. I will show you then. But I really wanted to make something that I could keep forever and I would love forever and wear all the time. And I thought that pattern was actually in the Cargill sweater, and I can't remember the designer's name now. I think it's Rebecca Clow. And I started making it, and I only got to row 4 before there started to be some serious issues with the pattern for me. As in, I'm not a proficient knitter. Like, I made this, like, I can knit. But some of the directions weren't very well explained, and I even reached out to the knitter, and it got to the point where I was almost ugly crying over a pattern, going, just why can I not understand this pattern? Like, the frustration that I feel right now is not something that I think anyone should experience, especially when they've paid between like £6 and £7 for a pattern. You know, that's a lot of money. £6 or £7 is, I mean, it's a fair price for a pattern, but the support that I got from the designer was just, it should mirror, and I didn't intend to sit down with a pattern that I had to kind of design myself for the first few rows. So out of frustration, I did actually pick up this pattern. It wasn't on my queue, it wasn't an intended make. I mean, it was eventually, but it's been sitting in my Ravelry queue like since I saw it on Pom Pom's Instagram. And I didn't think I'd get round to it this year. You know, I have a beret, but this was at least kind of a switchy off thing, and actually a very stark contrast to the experience I had with the Cargill, because you have to put your entire trust in this designer. None of the instructions, when you sit down and read them, make sense. Like, none of them. You look at it and you're like, really? I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do a short row here and a, you know, a slip stitch there? Yes. Just follow the pattern. Close your eyes and just drift off somewhere else. This pattern is so beautifully designed. Just trust in it and you'll be fine. So there's that one. And if you love the yarn, by the way, so this was made by my yarny bestie, the lovely Michelle at Mad Scientist Yarns. The yarn is called Ali's Dream. It is a dream having yarn named after me. The pattern called for sport weight, which, if you're in the UK, is like this mystery. You can't get hand-dyed yarns, or even a lot of commercial yarns that are sport weight. It's just this like Americanism, I think. So I actually held Ali's Dream. You can just see it. I held it double with this like purpley yarn, which was actually some West Yorkshire spinners that I was making my proudly paraded around on Instagram Darmody by the Marvellous Mrs. Maker. I actually hated the yarn while I was using it for that pattern because I had to hold it double, but I had 3 skeins on the go. So it was just like in a tangle. It really felt against itself, and I probably spent more time untangling than I did the pattern, which is why it took me from like April till, I don't know, like September to finish. Just this little croppy bolero. I was like, oh my god, I'm so done with this yarn. To the point where I was going to get Michelle to actually re-dye it and, you know, see if I could make something just to get rid of it. But it worked perfectly. So this lace weight yarn held with the 4-ply made this sport weight. So the gauge was bang on and it was perfect. And speaking of my friend Michelle, who is, in my eyes, yarn dyer extraordinaire, she has been raising loads and loads of money for a dog's home foster centre, German Shepherd Rescue in Stoke-on-Trent in the UK. They're called Luosco, which I have literally only just learned how to pronounce after asking her. So if you buy any yarn from Michelle now, she has a lot of raffles and a lot of things going on her Instagram page to raise money for the pups. We actually donated a load of office furniture from my 9-to-5 office job. My dad, bless him, drove it all the way to Stoke from Milton Keynes. We packed everything up. There was like 17 desks. I had to get a TaskRabbit. This guy's name's Jozef, spelled Jozef, and I turned to him and I'm like, oh, so where are you from? And you know, he says he's Slovakian, and I'm like, oh, the only reason that I ask, it's, you know, I'm Polish. So I was like, where are you from, cousin? And I said, oh, I'm half Polish. And then he turns to my dad, who is like British through and through, and he goes, oh, so you're Polish? And my dad's like, no, and basically says something to him in Polish, like he's going to understand. It was only one word. He said my wife, żona. And I'm like, what is going through your head right now that this guy has blatantly said he is Slovakian, and you have then turned and told him that your wife is Polish in Polish? Like, I get that we kind of have that Eastern European kind of, we can figure things out, but it just made me laugh that he was just so calm and casual in his delivery of his one Polish word. But bless him, I asked this guy, you know, there's a lot of stuff to move, are you going to be okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm a bodybuilder and a part-time physio and whatever else. I kind of expected the macho, like, hoo, on the end of that. But I said to him afterwards, you know, this big macho guy, this macho Slovakian guy, I'm like, oh, so like, you're my first rabbit. Like, how does this work? Do I invoice you? And as it came out of my mouth, I just realised I'd kind of lowered that guy to the standard of a vibrator. I called him my rabbit. It's a great app, by the way. I didn't actually realise how much stuff you could do with it. That you can just see a drill pointing up here. Like, I've been trying to do my own DIY and everything, and knowing that there's this like network of rabbits out there, I might be using that more and more often, so that's been great. So yeah, the new office, craft room. This is going to be my new kind of designing space. I'm hoping that you'll see a lot more of my face as a result of me having this space that is just full of yarn. These storage boxes will be full of yarn, this whole cabinet to my right, full of yarn. I have had a lot of things, as I said, on the back burner for a while now. One of them actually is something that I did re-release. Rustling around. So in 2020, I started what I called the Greenwich cowl. So it's a crochet along. It was a mystery at the time. Here's the first panel. So the Greenwich cowl was meant to be a blanket that you could make one panel every month, and at the end of the 12 months you'd basically have 12 squares, each different, that would symbolise something throughout the year, and you could sew them together and you'd have a blanket. Now, 2020 was a weird one. Everything started out fine at the start of the year, and then it slowly, or rather quickly, deteriorated. So, if you remember, it's called COVID-19 because it actually started in 2019, and I guess me, like a few other people, very oblivious to the fact that it would spiral into something that it did. I remember I was in Poland at the time, trying to finally sort out my passport and stuff. Got locked down, which wasn't pleasant, had to get repatriated by the Polish government, and that was actually the start of the decline of the blanket. So I spent a while designing it in advance. I'd actually made all the posts well in advance so I could just schedule them and go, poof, there we go, there's the whole blanket done. So I made January, I made February, I made March, April, someone else had to make for me because this is the point where COVID went into lockdown and, well, lockdown all of Poland, so I was stuck. I then made May. I also made June. I made July. I didn't sew any ends in, but I made July. And I made August. And that is where the blanket kind of stopped for me, and I know it stopped for a fair few people. There were some really dedicated callers who actually finished the whole thing, and I was like, oh my god, what I designed was amazing, like, thank you guys for doing this. But you know what, this is the first kind of year we've really got our lives back. Last year was still a little bit like touch and go. It was there, but it wasn't quite there. People were still adjusting to, you know, I'm outside, oh my god, I can breathe the air and I don't have to spend just an hour outside. So I reintroduced it this year. So anyone who made one of these panels through 2020 can resubmit for a chance to win a prize. If you start it and join us this year, you can win a prize. I've got some really great yarn sponsors and prize sponsors in general. So Vicky Brown has helped me out. She's donated 2 skeins for this. So throughout the year, I'm going to give those away. I know Michelle said that she was going to donate some stuff. I've also made some lovely stitch markers. I haven't actually made them, as in I have my charms and I have my tins. They're all ready to go. So they're actually, it's a Winter Wonderland themed set. So there is a little slice of wintry cake, a hot chocolate, a Christmassy macaron and a snowflake stitch marker. If you want to see any more detail of that, it's all over my Instagram and on the group, the Facebook group. So I'm really excited that people are coming back to this. My close sister from another mister, Lorena, who lives in Australia, who I am going to go visit again in May, she made a gorgeous blanket and she actually rearranged some of the panels because, you know what, January in Australia is not wintry, it's boiling hot summer. So me and her kind of got closer throughout that project as well, even though she lives so far away. We used to work together, and I'm very grateful that I'm going to be going to see her as well. She's moved to Brisbane, so rather than flying all the way there to see her and flying back, I'm also stopping in Korea, which I'm super excited about. The only problem is now it's made my brain go a million miles an hour. I'm like, all the handmaids that I can make, I can see myself in this outfit next door to this, and I'll be posing in Korea in this like multicolored outfit that I've made completely by myself. So now my hands are like wanting to go as fast as my brain. I have got this whole selection of patterns on the go. I'm going to start with the Lapoof because I can just see myself wearing a super colourful kind of travelling outfit with the Lapoof as the start. So that's one of them. I think a lot of my other projects now, knowing that I'm going on holiday, the sensible makes have now taken the back burner. So my amazing friend Autumn, who designed the Aura top blouse, she's a really talented designer. I just finished her koi top that she designed, and the Aura has been on my to-do list literally since she released it during COVID, I think it was. And I've got all the yarn, I just can't allocate the time, especially now that I'm going to Korea, because that's like it'll be an officey make, like a more wearable day to day, whereas for Korea I just want to go absolutely mental and just spit out rainbows. Like, I'm so excited by the opportunity now to go on holiday and to have mainly a completed handmade wardrobe as well. Like, I don't need to pack a lot of things that aren't handmade anymore, which really makes me happy. You know, I work with fast fashion clients in the 9 to 5, so kind of giving back in a way. Is it called giving back? Would it be giving back? But actually having a lot more slow fashion on the go makes me ridiculously happy. I've also been reading this book, Close Knit, by, and I'm so sorry, but I'm going to mispronounce your name, Lærke Bagger. She's Danish. I've been learning Swedish, so that was my kind of best pronunciation that I could find. She is a big advocate for slow fashion. Caution, like the first 2 pages of this, you see boobs. I was not expecting boobs in a knitting book. It was a pleasant surprise, but you've been warned. But she has got, you know, like great ideas for how to put projects together that are all scrappy. There she is in all of her sarcastic gorgeous glory. Scrappy projects. It's also a really good guide on how to knit if you've never knitted before, from start to finish. She doesn't even weave her ends in, so she's like my own personal hero right now, because none of the ends except for the sleeve ones are weaved in. You can probably still spot a few. Definitely recommend this book. So I'm really excited by the prospect of travelling again this year, kind of with unlimited restrictions. You know, countries aren't locked down anymore, life is getting back to normal. My house is finally starting to look the way that I always wanted it to. I've lived here for 1.5 years in this room. I finally have the space to design, to do all these things that I've kind of put pressure on myself to do and haven't achieved over the last 2 years. So with that, I'm really hoping that I see a lot of you working on your January panels or your other panels for the Greenwich Cow. I'm hoping you guys reach out and watch this and enjoy spending the time with me. I do speak at 1,000,000 miles an hour, but I love hearing from a lot of you. So thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll speak to a lot of you soon.